Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Lewis Speaks 2024, and this video is entitled Love is a Sad Thing. You know, initially when God does love, it's a beautiful thing. The way that He purposed love is such a beautiful gift. But when humans do love, it becomes a very, very sad thing. You know, I realize that when you love somebody who is struggling with an addiction, love becomes a very sad thing because you see them slowly deteriorate right before your very eyes and you can't do anything about it. You feel helpless, you feel powerless, and no matter how many credentials you have, no matter how many degrees you have, you can't do anything to save or help this person because they have to want help. They have to want to help themselves. And sometimes it feels as though you're living for two people when you love someone who struggles with addiction. You are trying your best to always resuscitate them. And despite all your efforts, you know, it's to no avail because they're just not ready to receive what you have to offer. You say all the right things, you do all the right things, and you think that because you've said all the right things and done all the right things that it should mean something, it should get you somewhere. And in a perfect world, it should. But when a person's mind, their heart is clouded by addiction, they can't hear or feel anything that you say. They are just gone. And it's like you're talking to this hollow shell of their former selves. They're not there. They have checked out. And it's just like, I've loved so many people with addictions. I have tried my best to be a friend, a good son, a good partner. It's just, in the end, it's to no avail. I've realized at the end of all that, people have got to want to change. You could put the information out there, but if they don't pick it up, then what good is it? You can give them all the tools, but if they don't pick them up and use them, there's nothing you can do. And that's the part that really makes you sad and makes love a sad thing, because no matter what you do, and no matter how much love you give someone, when they are struggling in the grips of addiction, it's like pouring living water into a bottomless well. It never gets full. You're pouring living water into a broken vessel. It never gets full. All you end up doing is just expending your energy, your efforts, trying your best to motivate, trying your best to say the right thing, to say some clever phrase, to say some kind of magical saying that will somehow shift something within their psyche, something within their soul, so that way they can live a sober life. But you know something? This is why a lot of people, they just burn out with love. A lot of people, they experience relational burnout, because they gave and gave and gave and gave and gave. And we've been taught all our lives through the fairy tales, through the movies, through the rom-coms, that if you keep pouring and giving and trying, it's going to mean something. They're going to see your efforts and they're going to turn around. But sometimes they don't. Sometimes they do, but then sometimes they don't. And then when they don't, you're sitting here wondering, why couldn't I have said something good? You feel ineffective, you feel impotent, you feel like you don't matter, like you're not enough. You feel like you're not enough, and you ask yourself, why am I never not enough? Why am I never enough? Why am I never enough for someone? But the reality is, you've always been enough. You've been too much. But of course, the mind is a cruel mistress, because the mind will convince you that you are not enough, and that you're not doing enough. But the reality is, they're not doing enough. They're not doing enough to help themselves, and you keep on trying to compensate for that. For those out there who are loving somebody who are struggling with an addiction, trust and believe I understand. I understand completely, because everything you do because you love someone and you want to see them become the person that you know they can be. You want to see them actualize their potential, but the reality is you can't make somebody want something. You can want it for them, but you can't make them want it for themselves. And that's the part that really makes you feel helpless. And it makes you feel like, why love? You know, for a while I was asking myself, why love? I was saying to myself, I only want to love that which I can control. I want to love people who I have influence over. I have some kind of influence, something that I say means something to them. I can love those people. But I realize that love sometimes is not that. That is a broken, damaged version of love. You have to love someone, but sometimes, God, love is just it's a tricky beast. Love is a tricky beast. I want it to be neat, compact, it fits. But that's not love. Love is messy. Love is dysfunctional. Love is crazy. Love is spiraling. Love is just twisted. Love is not linear. One thing we have to realize, that love is not linear. One thing I had to come to terms with and realize is love is not what I make you or what I want you to be. Love is me accepting who you are and letting you become what you want to become. And even if I can't love you up close or be in your life, I can love you from a distance. And sometimes we have got to do that, especially those who love people suffering from the disease of addiction. You have to learn how to love them from a distance. You have to learn how to love these people sometime with just, you know, in the privacy of your heart. You have to, and that's another thing, because you want to love them publicly. You want to love them and proclaim that love. But sometimes they're just not ready for that. And they say grief is love with nowhere to go. And that is so true. Grief is love with nowhere to go. Grief is a homeless love, always searching for a home. You want to love these people, but they're just not ready. They're on a different path. And sometimes you want your paths to align. You can see in your mind how beautiful it would be if only. You keep on having these if only thoughts. If only they would stick with the program. If only they would leave drugs and alcohol alone. If only they would just communicate more. If only they would work the steps. If only they would want God in their life. If only they would attend more Christian meetings or attend spiritual meetings. If only, you have all these if onlys in your head. And I think that's the frustrating part, because those if onlys never come to fruition. And then it leads to chronic disappointment. And that's why they have meeting spaces like Al-Anon, where people can go to process their feelings about loved ones who suffer from addiction and from alcoholism. You know, they have meetings because you need that. You need that community. You need that understanding, you know, because love is a beautiful gift. But when you love someone with addiction, it becomes a sad disease. Love becomes a sad disease. And in a way, you share this disease, because I personally feel like addiction is a family disease. Addiction is a partner disease. It's not just the person that is going through that. It's the ones trying to love and hold them up. The ones trying to understand, the ones trying to give them chance after numerous relapses, still trying to believe in them, still trying to hold out hope for these people. With every relapse, you lose a bit of faith, you know, and you still try to keep on going. You still try to manufacture some faith deep inside the reserves of your heart. But over time, those reserves are low. Those reserves get depleted because with every new relapse, with every new just recovery effort that fails, it makes you feel like, but you know, this is the nature of the beast. This is the nature of addiction. It's never just this one path. It's always circuitous. It's this circuitous path. And so for everybody out there, trust and believe, I know what you're going through. I know what you're going through when you love a family member, a friend, or a partner who is living with addiction. It's awful. Between the financial instability, the psychiatric instability, the emotional instability, you know, the housing instability, there's just a lot of instability. And that's why sometimes you have to just walk away. You have to just distance yourself, because if you stay close to these people, they will suck you in like a vortex. And the thing about it is this: the disease of addiction doesn't discriminate. The disease of addiction doesn't care who it hurts. The disease of addiction is selfish. It just eats and consumes, and it doesn't care who it destroys in its path. It's like a bull in a china shop, and it's just continuing to spiral and just eat up everything. And it's just unfortunate. It's unfortunate that there's very few spaces where you can get that support. Because a lot of people that you talk to, when you try to tell them these things, they're like, oh, just walk out, just leave, just go. And the thing about it is this: when you love somebody and you decide to go, it feels as though you're leaving a part of yourself too. You know, and you don't want to leave yourself behind. And so you stay, and maybe it's enmeshment, maybe it's codependency, maybe it's every cycle babble that's, you know, purported nowadays. But, you know, in the end, all you just feel is trapped. You feel bound by obligation. You feel hurt. You feel grief. You feel grief. And so you have to process that, and you have to balance that with the love that you have for yourself. And sometimes people are just drowning ships, honey. They're sinking ships. And so you have to get off, or you're going to sink with them. You have to learn when to get off. And a lot of times we get off too late. You know, I have a history of trying to hang in there with people. Hang in there. And staying too long in situations that are not healthy. Staying too long in spaces and jobs and situations and relationships that are not healthy. All to prove my loyalty, all to prove my devotion, all to prove my care, my love. But my love doesn't have to be proved. Love, when it's true, it doesn't have to be proven. It just has to be felt. And the thing about it is, you know, I know my love. I know my love. And those who are struggling with addiction, they will oftentimes try to guilt you and make you feel as though you don't love and care about them, as though your efforts are just insignificant and insufficient. They'll try to make you feel as though you don't do enough. You know, but the thing about it is you have done too much. And the thing about it, they have not done enough. So they want to project their own guilt. They want to project their own embarrassment. They want to project their own feelings onto you and try to make you feel as though you don't do enough, as though you don't understand. Those plagued with addiction oftentimes struggle with something called terminal uniqueness, where they feel like they're the only ones that are going through something, the only ones who have ever experienced addiction, and that nobody else understands them. Nobody else understands what they're going through, but that's a lie. That is a lie their addiction has told them in order to keep them out there, to keep them using. Oh, nobody understands me, so I'm on this path alone, so let me keep on using and destroying myself because nobody understands me. That's the stinking thinking. You know? That's the cognitive distortions that happen as a result of addiction. So this disease definitely is cruel and is eating people's lives. I see people every single day who are the victims of their own addiction. And it's hard to see, it's hard to witness, especially when you love and care for people, you see what they're going through, but they're not ready. They're in that pre-contemplation stage of change. They don't want to make any changes. They don't see a need to make any changes. And so sometimes people need to hit bottom, and you pray that their bottom is not the grave. You pray that their bottom is not 6 feet under. You pray that they get just the right amount of knocks in their life to wake them up. Some people have to lose their relationships, their partners. Some people have to lose their houses and their jobs. Some people have to lose their physical health. Some people have to lose multiple things, their children, you know? So the thing about it is this: you pray that they wake up after those losses, after sustaining those losses, but a lot of times they don't. And it's sad to say that for some people, their bottom is the grave. And that's sad. And that's what makes love a sad thing. That's what makes loving them a sad thing, because you try your best to rescue. And there goes that codependency piece. You're once again trying to breathe life into them while you're suffocating. And so that's why you have to learn. Can't do it. I can't do this. I can't continue to breathe life into somebody who does not want to breathe on their own. They want to continue to be mired in their own depression and steeped in their own addiction. They don't want help. They don't want assistance. They don't feel that there is a reason. They don't see a reason to get clean. And sometimes, it's sad to say that you are not reason enough for them. And that hurts too. Knowing that you are not reason enough for someone to get clean. Knowing that your love is not reason enough. Knowing that your care and your concern is not reason enough. And so when you feel that way, you just have to, you got to take your hands off the situation. Pray to God that something connects in their mind, and they're motivated to make a shift. In the interim, you have to love them from a distance sometime. And that's easier said than done. But you can't continue to try to kill yourself to try and save someone else. We're always setting ourselves on fire to keep other people warm. We're always starving ourselves to feed their hunger. No. And so, I know you want to love. For all those out there, I know you want to love people back to life. I know you want to save people from their addiction, but if you throw out a life preserver and they reject it, then they have to deal with the consequences, which means that they drown. If you have a lifeboat that you keep on sending, and they keep on rejecting, the thing about it is this: you can only help as much as someone lets you help. If they choose not to let you help, you can't help. So once again, you got to take care of yourself. You got to feed yourself. You got to clothe yourself. You have to hold yourself. You have to make sure that you are taking good care of you. And that's easier said than done, but you have to. And people say things like, oh, it's my life. But the funny thing is, we're the ones that have to watch you die. We're the ones that have to watch you suffer in pain. We're the ones that have to watch as you go from pillar to post. We're the ones that have to watch you slowly deteriorate. And so when you love somebody who struggles with an addiction, it's just not about them. It's also about you because you love them. And when you love them, you struggle. So, for those out there who have relatives and who have partners and friends who are just in the trenches of addiction, trust and believe. I hope this video was helpful. I hope this video was a tool to let you know that you're not alone. This video can be a tool in terms of taking care of you and learning how to pour back into your cup, because being a caregiver to those who struggle with addiction is exhausting. And you can literally just exhaust yourself, deplete your reserves, the reserves that you need in order to stay motivated, in order to stay alive yourself. You can deplete those reserves trying to keep these people alive. So you just got to take care of you. You got to take care of you, got to feed you, and realize that they're making choices, right? They're making choices that affect their own lives. There's a natural consequence to their choices. Please, if you take nothing else from this video, take this. They're making choices. There are natural consequences to those choices that they have to deal with. And while you may want to provide support to them, and you may want to love on them and shield them from the consequences of their actions, you can't continue to enable them to use, because constantly trying to shield somebody from the consequences of their actions, you're enabling the poor behavior to continue. So sometimes you have to let people hit bottom. You have to let people feel the consequences of their actions. And then they'll be motivated to change their ways. And if they're not motivated, they want to keep on going, that's, once again, that is on them. They are the ones that are responsible. So you have got to learn to shield yourself up, you know, create your own shield, probably a shield that was tarnished when you were growing up. You have to learn how to protect yourself. Because many of us grew up in homes where our shield was broken, where our boundaries were crossed, where our protection system was non-existent. You know, no one protected us growing up. So we didn't learn how to protect ourselves and how to shield ourselves, that we feel as though we need to be giving until we're dead. No. You have to learn that, no. You have to shield yourself up and protect yourself, because you're responsible for you. You have to love you enough, because you're no good to anybody if you are in the ground trying to love somebody who's not ready to receive your blessing. You got to shield yourself up. So I hope this video was helpful. Thank you so much for listening, and please, please take care of yourself. Peace, y'all.